Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Thursday, October 3rd, 2019. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's AL wildcard game and look ahead to the NLDS. I'll pick those two series. NHL season began last night. We'll look at those 4 games and look ahead to tonight's slate. Bowl projections for Week 6. Picks for Thursday Night Football and college football Week 6 tonight. My best bet of the day, and obviously a managerial firing that just happened legit about an hour ago. Okay, we're going to start the American League wildcard game where the Tampa Bay Rays defeated the Oakland Athletics by a score of 5-1 as the Rays move on to take on the Houston Astros. Charlie Morton pitches great. He gets the win. Sean Manaea the loss. Actually, no, great's a little bit of an overstatement. I'd say he pitched very well and got out of some troubles in that game. Ray's bullpen really impressed me more than Charlie Morton in this game. I'm just being honest here. Morton, 5 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. The 3 walks, not so great. And then there were situations that he was bailed out by his defense with the double plays and whatnot. Diego Castillo came out for the 6th and the 7th, 2 innings, 2 hits. No runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Nick Anderson, their trade ad from the Marlins, an inning and a third, a hit, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. That guy is very good. I was way wrong about that. I thought they overpaid for him in that trade, but he's been very good. And Emilio Pagan closed it out, 2/3 of an inning and a strikeout. Don't forget, Pagan was on the Athletics last year and was a part of their beating in Yankee Stadium last year. Meanwhile, for Oakland, Sean Manaea, 2 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Mario Petit, 2 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 1 on a run, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Jake Dykman, an inning and a third of an inning, no hits, no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. So he basically had one batter. Jesus Luzardo looked okay. 3 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. And Liam Hendricks, their closer, 1 inning and 1 strikeout. The Rays got it going early. Home run by Yandy Diaz. Leadoff shot. 1-0 Tampa Bay. Second inning, Avisail Garcia home run. 3-0 Rays. It was a 2-run shot with Duffy on base. Third inning, Yandy Diaz again to right field. 4-0 Rays. Bottom of the third, sacrifice fly by Ramon Laureano. 4-1. That's the only offense they had in this game. And in the top of the fifth, a home run by Tommy Pham. 5-1. And by the way, that was an unearned run because of an egregious error by their third baseman, who, by the way, was moved from second base, Mike Brousseau. And he's the sole reason why this game wasn't a shutout for the Rays, and that egregious error when he was trying to throw the ball over to Yandy Diaz. So, next up for the Tampa Bay Rays is the Houston Astros. They have the pitching to slow down the Astros offense, but I'm not sold on their offense having success against the likes of Justin Verlander, Zach Greinke, and Garrett Cole. Some of their bullpen could be vulnerable if they're not pitching up the capability, but it'll be a tough ask for the Rays to win the series. I'm going to have my official pick for the series on tomorrow's podcast. Meanwhile, for Oakland, another season in which they lose to the wild card game. I think a lot of people thought they were going to be worse than they were a year ago, but that proved not to be true. So I think that Oakland could be a contender next year. Yes, because they have a lot of young talent coming in the farm system. They have a lot of talent on their roster. Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, Ramon Laureano. You got Chad Pinder. You have Marcus Semien, who had a career year. People think he should be the AL MVP. I strongly disagree with that because there's a guy named Alex Bregman who's on the best team in baseball. Best player on the best team wins MVP. You know my story on that. And the Oakland Athletics are not the best team, and that's not Semien's fault. Semien will be a candidate for it, but he won't win it, and that's the truth. And from the pitching side, it's gotten better than it's been. Jesus Luzardo's really good. Maybe he'll be a starter for them next year. Sean Manaea's back from his Tommy John surgery, although he was not good yesterday, giving up those home runs. You have Mike Fiers, who had a good year this year. You have Homer Bailey, who you got in a trade. I don't know if he's a free agent or not. We'll see. I'll have to see for myself. You have more in the farm system, A.J. Puke. He's shown some promise throughout his brief time in the big leagues. And you have in the bullpen, you have guys like Liam Hendricks and oh, by the way, Bailey free agent, so he won't be a guarantee to come back this year or next year. So Bailey's a free agent, so you'd be Fiers, who I think might be a free agent too. I don't know. That one I have to check for sure. You obviously have Benaya. You have the young kids in Luzardo and Puke. So they have some pitching talent there in Oakland. Oh, he has one more year left on his deal, Fiers. So he's back next year unless they trade him, which I don't see them going in that direction. If anything, they'll probably make trades to improve their team rather than to lessen their team. The Mariners are going to be in a long rebuild for years to come. The Astros are going to lose Garrett Cole, so they'll be kind of worse. The Angels will be better because they're going to hire Joe Madden, it looks like. And then you have the Rangers, who I think are going to be better in their new ballpark next year. So that division is going to be a little bit better next year, and I think Oakland is a part of the teams that are on the come. Like I mentioned, good farm system and a good roster right now, and I think that Bob Melvin's done an outstanding job managing this team and getting a lot out of them over these past couple of years. So the future's bright in Oakland. I'll say that. National League Division Series begins today. I'm going to pick the series first, and then I'll pick the games in a few minutes. So we're going to start with the Cardinals and the Braves. Cardinals your 3 seed, the Braves are your 2 seed. The Cardinals have had a great season thus far, winning their division for the first time in 4 years. The Braves have had a good year as well, and winning their second consecutive division crown. The Cards offense is a unit that tends to be streaky, but has a lot of talent led by Paul Goldschmidt, Paul DeYoung, and Marcelo Ozuna. The Braves offense has been great all season, led by Ronald Acuna Jr., Freddie Freeman, and veteran pickup Josh Donaldson. The Cardinals starting pitching has been excellent for most of the season, led by Jack Flaherty, Miles Mikolas, Adam Wainwright, and Dakota Hudson. The Braves starting pitching is solid for the most part, led by rookie Mike Soroka, Dallas Keuchel, Mike Foltynewicz, and Mike Fried. And by the way, Julio Teheran not on the roster, so the younger kids beat him out, as well as Dallas Keuchel, obviously. The Cardinals bullpen is solid, led by closer Carlos Martinez and Andrew Miller. The Braves bullpen made some additions. They got some additions in Shane Green, Chris Martin, and Mark Melancon. They go with Luke Jackson, Darren O'Day, and Josh Tomlin, but I don't love any of these guys in a big spot. That said, this is my upset special of this round, and the best unit in this series is the Cardinals starting pitching, led by Flaherty, and they'll lead them to the National League Championship Series for the first time in 5 seasons. The prediction, Cardinals in 5 games. Next up, your wildcard winner, Washington Nationals versus the 1 seed Los Angeles Dodgers. The Nationals are coming off a huge win in the wildcard game over the Milwaukee Brewers, and if it weren't for the big hit by Juan Soto and the egregious error by Trent Grisham in right field, Dave Martinez would have been fired. The Dodgers have the best team in the National League all season long. The Nats offense is solid, led by Anthony Rendon, Juan Soto, Victor Robles, and Trey Turner. The Dodgers offense is the best in the NL, led by MVP favorite Cody Bellinger, Max Muncy, Justin Turner, and Corey Seager. The Nats rotation is great too, led by Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, and Patrick Corbin. The Dodgers rotation is very good, led by Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Heijin Ryu, and Rich Hill. The Nats bullpen is a unit I do not trust in October at all against a competent team with the likes of closer Sean Doodle, Fernando Rodney, Daniel Hudson, and Hunter Strickland. The Dodgers bullpen I don't trust either, but it's better than what the Nats have trotting out with the closer and Kenley Jansen, Julio Urias, and Kenta Maeda coming from the rotation. This won't be a walkover for the Dodgers with the Nats' great starting pitching and offense, but they should return to their fourth straight NLCS. The prediction, Dodgers in 4 games. All right, now tonight's games. The first game up is the Braves hosting the Cardinals, 5 o'clock, TBS. On the call of this game, it looks like it's going to be Don Orsillo, and I don't know who the analysts are going to be. So the ex-Red Sox announcer and now Padres announcer will be calling this series since the Nationals had beaten the Brewers, or else they probably would have gotten Brian Anderson in this series, and Brian Anderson wouldn't have done the Dodger series if the Brewers were in it, because there's a reason why Ernie Johnson did the wild card game last night and not Brian Anderson. It's because Brian Anderson's the voice of the Brewers, and we talked about this the other day on the podcast. All right, so Cardinals, Braves, you have Miles Mikolas and Dallas Keuchel tonight. I did just pick the Cardinals to win this series in 5 games, but I don't think they win game 1. Dallas Keuchel's better than Miles Mikolas, so give me the Braves in game 1 of the series. I think the Braves will win 2 games in the series, and this will be one of the 2. So give me the Braves at home to take care of business in game 1 over Miles Mikolas, who's not had a good year, a regression year from a career year last year with the Cardinals. At 8:30, you have the Nationals against the Dodgers on TBS. Brian Anderson, Ron Darling on the call. You have Patrick Corbin against Walker Buehler going here. Patrick Corbin, I don't trust in a big game in his life. He got destroyed by the Dodgers in the playoffs 2 years ago. I think he's in for a rude awakening again in this game. I think he's going to implode, and there's going to be criticism on social media tonight how the Nationals overpaid for Corbin and his regular season numbers are irrelevant and yada yada. So give me the Dodgers tonight. I think they win this game like 6-1, led by Buehler and that offense. I think Corbin gets destroyed, and I don't trust Corbin in a big spot against a good team at all. So give me the Dodgers here to pull this one out in game number 1 to take a 1-0 series lead. All right, NHL started last night. We'll go over last night's games and look ahead to tonight's slate. Maple Leafs over the Senators 5-3. You knew that the Maple Leafs were probably going to win this game. They're much better than Ottawa. They're 1-0-0. Ottawa's 0-1-0. Ottawa actually got on the board first on a goal by Brady Tkachuk in the first minute of the game, 25 seconds in. And then second period rolls around. Here come the Maple Leafs. They scored 4 goals, including 2 by Austin Matthews. They take a 4-2 lead into the third. And then Ottawa scored a garbage time goal with about 2 minutes left by Bobby Ryan to make it a 5-3 game. So the Maple Leafs win a game that they should win 100 times out of 100 against the worst team in the league. And I get it, hockey's not the NBA, but you should be able to sweep the drugs in your division. So, good start for the Maple Leafs here. Capitals over the Blues 3-2 in overtime in a battle of the previous 2 Stanley Cup winners. Caps 1-0-0, St. Louis 0-0-1. Jacob Vrana got the overtime winner for Washington. He's somebody that I had as my make-or-break player on the Capitals this year because he's not produced like a first-round pick, and he's somebody that should improve this year, especially playing in their top 6. So he's off to a good start this season. Fun fact about this game, Blues scored within the first minute of the game, too, on a goal by Sammy Blais. And then Alex Pietrangelo scored with about 8 minutes in, up 2-0. And then Ovechkin scores with 5 minutes left in the period, makes it 1-2. So Capitals came back from 2-0 down to win this game. They deserve a lot of credit. And then the Caps tied it midway through the second on a power play goal by Dmitry Orlov. So this was the game of the night, lived up to hype. I had the Blues winning 3-2 in overtime, but it ended up being Capitals 3-2 in overtime. So I was wrong there. I was close to getting this one right. And good call by me predicting that this game would go to overtime. I think these two teams are evenly matched. So it was just perfect for this game to go to overtime. And NBC couldn't have asked for a better opening game of the season. Oilers over the Canucks 3-2. The Oilers are 1-0-0, Vancouver 0-1-0, so a very good start for the Edmonton Oilers in a game which they should win. These two teams, I think, are even, but Edmonton at home should win this game over Vancouver, although I picked Vancouver ahead of Edmonton in the standings this year, but that was because I expected a breakout from Vancouver's goalie this year. Leon Draisaitl had 3 points. Connor McDavid scored the go-ahead goal for the Oilers with about 5 minutes to go in the third period. So a good game all around. Vancouver was competitive. They had a 2-1 lead midway through the third, and Zach Hazen tied it at 2 apiece. So Zach Hazen, 2 points on the night. He should see an uptick in production this year playing with McDavid and Draisaitl. And I think I had him as my make-or-break guy too, because this is somebody who obviously has not had the career people thought he was going to have, being a former first-round pick. So maybe a good year here would keep him in the league for another few years after being perceived as a big bust earlier in his career. So a good night for Zach Hazen, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, the goalies played well, and Dave Tippett, the new coach, gets a win in his first game. Jacob Markstrom, 22 saves on 19 shots, and then Mike Smith, 31 saves on 33 shots. He played very well. Mike Smith is a key reason why Edmonton won this game. And then the Golden Knights over the Sharks 4-1. This was an easy pick for me. I thought that Vegas would win this game by double digits. They're 1-0-0. San Jose 0-1-0. They really had themselves a great game. Rookie Cody Glass scored his first career goal and was the number 1 star of the game. Riley Smith had 2 goals, number 2 star of the game. And then Mark Stone had 2 points. He was the number 3 star of the game. So Vegas really lived up to expectations and their preseason perception in this game. Sharks, I don't want to overreact to game 1 for them, so give them a few games to get going. You couldn't have been in a worse spot if you were San Jose, going up against a team that can absolutely win the Stanley Cup this year. So I'm going to give San Jose a little bit of a pass. Martin Jones, another rough game for him with 4 goals given up in this game. 35 saves on 31 shots. So the save percentage still under 900. It's 886. But, hey, I think the Sharks will be fine eventually, like I said, but tough opener for them. Now, tonight's slate at 7 o'clock, you have the Jets at the Rangers. Jets, obviously, a team that people think will take a step back. Rangers, team, I think, will be a playoff team this year. There's others that think that they're going to be bad, but I think this is one of the 2 surprise teams from the East this year. Rangers, by the way, are minus 125 favorites. It's solely because so many people are down on the Jets and everybody loves Kaapo Kakko. And I think Kaapo Kakko will have an outstanding debut for the Rangers. Won't be surprised if he has a goal here and multiple points. So, looking forward to that one. Should be a good game at MSG. And I would absolutely jump on the over in that game as well. At 7 o'clock also, you have the Canadiens at the Hurricanes, 2 teams that people expect to be on the bubble. I think the Canadiens take a step back this year. Hurricanes, I have them back in the postseason again. Sabres, Penguins. This is probably a good underdog bet, potentially, if you had to make an underdog bet. Although I think the Penguins are a playoff team again. Sabres, up-and-coming team. Some people think that they could be a playoff team. I had John Butchercross on yesterday. That was his surprise East team. So we'll see there. Panthers at the Lightning. Lightning, a lot of pressure on them this year to have a big year, especially in the spring. Panthers, pressure on them with Joel Quenneville running the things now. 8 o'clock, NBCSN, Wild at the Predators. On the call of this game, I think, will be, I believe it's Gordon Miller and AJ Malesko. So, I'm not sure on that. I would have to double check it. In terms of a pick for the game, I'm going to take the Predators at home. They're the much better team. I think they'll win this game like 4-1, kind of like how Vegas beat San Jose yesterday. Wild should be a lottery team. They're not going to be as good as they've been in the decade in terms of being that perennial playoff team. So, give me the Predators at home. I think Pekka Rinne is a big game. I think that Matt Duchene will have a nice debut tonight in the Predators sweater. So, give me the Preds there at home. 8:30 Bruins at the Stars. Both these teams people like this year. 9 o'clock, the Flames at the Avalanche. Good division game there. 10 o'clock, Coyotes, Ducks. Ducks, popular bounce back pick I've seen from some people. And then the Coyotes, I'm not so sold on them. They had a great year last year, but I think they're going to regress. So that's your slate for tonight. Bowl projections for Week 6 of the college football season. Not a lot of major changes, so I'm going to be very, very quick here. The playoff, the Fiesta Bowl, I have Clemson and Ohio State, and the Peach Bowls, Georgia and Alabama. 2 Clemson, 3 Ohio State, 1 Georgia, 4 Alabama. Georgia has the win over Notre Dame to solidify themselves as the team that has the best win. I should have put Ohio State 2 and Clemson 3, but I didn't do it because Clemson does not have a loss yet. And Ohio State has been more impressive than Clemson and probably does have better wins than Clemson. Obviously, Nebraska's better than anybody that Clemson's played. Actually, no, take that back. Texas A&M's better than Nebraska. So, yeah, I'm still okay with Clemson 2, Ohio State 3. And then Bama 4. They haven't beaten anybody great yet, so that's why they're number 4. New Year's 6 bowls. The rest of them, the Cotton Bowl at Boise and Michigan. Orange Bowl, Virginia, Notre Dame. Obviously, those 2 teams played each other last week. Rose Bowl, Utah and Wisconsin. Sugar Bowl, LSU and Oklahoma. Other bowl games, the Bahamas Bowl, North Texas and Western Michigan. Frisco Bowl, Navy and Army. New Mexico Bowl, Southern Miss and Fresno State. Cure Bowl, Houston and Louisiana. Boca Raton Bowl, Temple and Ohio. Camellia Bowl, Buffalo and Arkansas State. Las Vegas Bowl, Utah State and Colorado. New Orleans Bowl, Louisiana Tech and Appalachian State. Gasparilla Bowl, Cincinnati and Marshall. Hawaii Bowl, BYU and Hawaii. Independence Bowl, Nevada and Pitt. Quick Lane Bowl, Boston College and Nebraska. Military Bowl, SMU and NC State. Pinstripe Bowl, Syracuse and Northwestern. Texas Bowl, Oklahoma State and Kentucky. Holiday Bowl, Iowa and Arizona State. Cheez-It Bowl, USC and Iowa State. Camping World Bowl, Florida State and Baylor. First Responder Bowl, UAB and TCU. Music City Bowl, Virginia Tech and Kansas State. Red Box Bowl, Minnesota and Cal. Belk Bowl, Miami and Mississippi State. Sun Belt Bowl, Wake Forest and Oregon. Liberty Bowl, UCF and West Virginia. Arizona Bowl, Wyoming and Georgia Southern. Alamo Bowl, Texas and Washington. Citrus Bowl, Michigan State and Auburn. Outback Bowl, Maryland and Florida. Birmingham Bowl, Washington State and Memphis. Gator Bowl, Penn State and Texas A&M. Famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Eastern Michigan and San Diego State. Armed Forces Bowl, Purdue and New Mexico. And the Mobile Alabama Bowl, Toledo against Troy. Okay, before I get to my picks, managerial firing happened. The Mets have relieved Mickey Callaway of his duties. He, as the Mets manager, 163 and 161, so 2 games over 500 as Mets manager. That obviously couldn't get the job done in 2 years, especially here in New York, in which expectations are high, and you have the most talented starting rotation, arguably, in baseball, led by Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard, but you really just couldn't get over the hump. But the main reason why they couldn't get over the hump, other than his inability to manage, is because of the horrific bullpen led by Edwin Diaz, who at the time was what we thought was a good trade with the Mariners, although they gave up too much, as we said on the podcast when they made that trade. But we thought Edwin Diaz was going to be a good ad for them, but ultimately he was, I think, the biggest bust acquisition in baseball this season by any team. And him and the stupid decisions that Mickey Callaway's made in terms of double switches and when to take pitchers out and whatnot ultimately cost him his job. Good job by the Mets for recognizing that they made a mistake in hiring this clown in the first place. I know I sound like Jake Brown right now saying all this, because Jake Brown really couldn't stand Callaway either, and obviously he covers the Mets, and I've had him on this podcast a few times. But the Mets did the right thing, and now they have to go and hire somebody that knows what he's doing, like a Joe Girardi or a Buck Showalter or Joe Madden. If they don't land the big name, I think it's a catastrophic failure by them. And there's other guys that could potentially be available, but don't get the next Mickey Callaway. Don't get the guy that's hanging on the street. Like, I don't want to get somebody like the guy that the Cubs are looking at, like Mark Loretta or something like that, the bench coach for Joe Madden. But like that's because he's an unknown. It's not because I don't think he's going to be a bad manager. I think David Ross would be an interesting hire, but I think that he is more interested in the Cubs job than the Mets job. But then again, who would be more interested in the Mets job than the Cubs job? Because one's job's clearly more superior to the other. Because the Mets have a terrible ownership, the worst ownership in New York sports, and that includes James Dolan in this town. So I think the Mets have the worst ownership in this metro area, and that's a disadvantage for whomever wants to be the manager here. And the Cubs have much better ownership than the Mets. And the Cubs moved on from Joe Madden because time had run its course. And not to say that he did a bad job, because I don't think Joe Madden did a bad job. Time has run its course. The reason why the Cubs fired Joe Madden is the same reason why the Yankees fired Joe Girardi 2 years ago. They wanted to go in a different direction. The Mets fired Mickey Calloway because he flat out sucked at his job. And the Mets did the right thing. But the Mets really have to get a big name in here to fire up the fan base a little bit. Joe Girardi, I think, would be the most interesting only because of the rivalry with the Yankees. I could see the Mets being all in on Girardi, but I don't think Girardi would want to come here because there's better jobs open. The Philly job's going to be open, I think. So I think that would be a more interesting job for Girardi. The Cub job would be more interesting. I think the Nationals, I think Dave Martinez saved his job courtesy of Trent Grisham and Juan Soto. So that job's not going to be open. There are better options for Joe than the Mets. So I don't think Joe will go there. Buck Showalter, I think, would be an inspiring choice. I think he's somebody that wants to get back in the game. That guy's a winner. And that guy really knows how to manage. But that's the same thing with the Orioles and Buck Showalter when they got rid of him. Time had run its course. He had a great tenure there. The Orioles made the ALCS under him. But it was time to move on. And I think Showalter would be an excellent choice. Joe Madden, I think, would be an interesting choice. But I think that Madden wants to go to Los Angeles. And I think that's a done deal there at the Angels. And I think it would be a catastrophic failure if the Angels didn't get Joe Madden. Only because then why would they fire Brad Ausmus as soon as after the Cubs got rid of Joe Madden? And it was very reminiscent of when the Rays let go of Joe Madden, or Joe Madden opted out of his contract, and the Cubs immediately got rid of Rick Renteria. So I think that Joe Madden's your next manager of the Los Angeles Angels. I think Joe Girardi will either be with the Mets or the Cubs. But why is he not linked to the Cubs? Like, I don't get why the Cubs are going to go get him. I think that's Joe Girardi's dream job. Like, he almost left the Yankees for the Cubs a few years ago. Don't forget that, guys. Like, he legit almost left the Yankees for the Cubs. And the only reason why he didn't leave the Yankees is because the Yankees paid extra dollar to keep him after he overachieved with the Yankees in 2013. And he obviously knew that the Cubs were probably a better long-term situation because at the time the Yankees still had aging players on their roster. But, like, he stayed with the Yankees instead of going to the Cubs because the Yankees kind of paid top dollar to keep him there, and he probably just wanted to stay close to home. That was a factor in this too, instead of going back home. And the Yankees are obviously a better run organization than the Mets and the Cubs too, to some extent. But the Cubs have become very well run, especially when Madden was there. But now Madden's gone and things have changed there. So it should be interesting to see what Joe does. Should be interesting to see what direction the Mets go. But if you're the Mets, you have to hire a big name. No doubt about it. It has to be Joe Madden, Joe Girardi, or Buck Showalter, or else I'm going to be questioning yet another hire by, in my opinion, one of the most dysfunctional franchises in all of baseball. Now I'll get to my picks. Thursday Night Football, Rams at the Seahawks, 8:20 on Fox. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews on the call. If it was Yankees, Red Sox in the ALDS, then Joe Buck would be calling that instead. But no, it's Yankees Twins. So Joe Buck's calling this game. That's the only way that Joe Buck would have missed football for a DS is if it involved the sexy marquee teams that is the best rivalry in all sports. But no, it's Yankees-Twins, so it'll be Joe Davis and Joe Buck, and Joe Buck gets to stick with Trey Aikman for Thursday Night Football. So Rams-Seahawks. Rams obviously coming off that horrific loss to the Bucs, and Jared Goff obviously had a terrible game, the worst 500-yard game I've ever seen. Seattle coming off the division win at Arizona, but I just think that the Seattle is very fraudulent and is lucky to be 3-1. So give me the Rams in this spot. They are getting a point and a half on the road. I think they bounce back and win this game outright. I'm going to say they win this game by a score of 30-26. It'll be a good game, don't get me wrong. But I really, really love the Rams tonight on Thursday Night Football and what is an excellent bounce back spot. Plus 106 on the money line, by the way. Again, the pick, Rams plus 1.5. And by the way, the underdogs so far on Thursday Night Football, 4-0. Make it 5-0 after tonight. College football tonight, Georgia Southern at South Alabama. Georgia Southern laying 10. The over-under is 45. Give me Georgia Southern minus the 10. They are much better than South Alabama. This is a good bounce back, get right spot for Georgia Southern. Temple at East Carolina. Temple's laying 12. The over-under is 47.5. This could be an entertaining game. And the play I like here is the over 47.5. I think that both of these teams can get the 30 points. I think that Temple will win the game, obviously. But I just expect a lot of points in this game. And even like a 30-20 Temple final would be a winner here. So give me Temple to win the game on the field, but the play here over 47.5. Best bet of the day brought to you by DraftKings. What I did for tonight was parlayed every game I liked on the money line. The Braves, the Dodgers, the Rams, Georgia Southern, Temple, the Predators with 2 more hockey plays, and the Lightning and the Hurricanes. Plus 33.68, payout of $20.46 because I wagered 59 cents. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping the 2 NLDS games, Thursday Night Football, college football, and looking ahead to the weekend's activity with a bunch of more picks and more. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.